Well, we're looking at all of our databases and all other cases like this, and if we find a problem, we'll fix it. Now, we act in accordance with our values as an Air Force: integrity first and excellence in all we do, and that's what we're doing.
Secretary of the Air Force right there a bit earlier, Dr. Heather Wilson, saying if the Air Force finds a problem, they will fix it, admitting they did not enter the gunman's domestic abuse and imprisonment into the FBI database. That may have prevented him from buying the guns he used to kill 26 people. Ken Paxton, Attorney General in Texas. And, sir, thank you for being here. And my best to everybody in Texas. You have great people in that state, wonderful people. Yes, I know this is a very, very trying time. So thank you for your time now. FBI Special Agent Chris Combs on this very topic, and I'll ask you about this next. Watch here.
I can tell you that for the 4 purchases that he made, the NICS system did their required checks, and there was no prohibitive information in the systems that we checked that say that he could not have purchased that firearm. In all 3 of those databases, there was not information that we would have said was prohibitive for that man to get the firearm.
Sir, this is what I'm trying to figure out. I know it was military rules. I know it was given on behalf of the Pentagon guidelines. I think it was part of the Brady Bill of 1993 as well. Can you clarify whether or not this is written into the statute to report this information?
I think you're right. I haven't focused so much on federal law. I mostly focus on state law. But I think the main point here is we had existing law. Had it been followed, whether it was the responsibility of the military or somebody else, had it been followed, you know, we might not have 26 dead people. And the outcry for new law, I think some of these people that are crying for new law ought to really focus on enforcing what we have.
It's an excellent point. But if it was not entered, sir, I'm wondering if that's a criminal case.
It's, you know, potentially is. It really depends on how who did it, first of all, who's responsible, and second, how that language is crafted. A lot of times there may be a responsibility, but there's actually no remedy.
Yeah, but based on what you know now, can we give a definitive answer on that question?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. It's going to be something I think the Department of Justice may have to look at, and I think the U.S. Air Force has to look at.
Locally, tell me about the investigation today. Where are you on that?
So, as you know, the shooter's deceased. That always makes the investigation a lot harder because obviously you can't get any information from from that person. And so local authorities, mostly our state police, DPS, and the Texas Rangers, are working with the FBI and the ATF to continue to interview people that this guy knew and to pursue some of his relationships and his connections through social media.
Yeah. Can you talk about the audio or the video that was inside that church?
I actually cannot.
I think may
that
help investigators or not?
I think it will, but I can't comment on that at this point until they release it.
Yeah. What more can you add about what was happening in his personal life? Be it friends or family members who have come forward to give you information.
You know, all I can say is this guy obviously had some severe problems that I think should have been recognized. I mean, he was booted out of the Air Force, as you know. He beat his wife. He beat a child. And I think the real breakdown here was maybe really what you talked about at the beginning of the show, which is the fact that the system broke. I mean, we should have caught this. This guy should have never been able to get these weapons. And the breakdown is at least there. And maybe as we investigate, we'll find out that maybe some of the family members should have notified authorities. That may be something that we determine down the road.
Wow. Is that something you're looking at already?
I know that these people are being interviewed, and I think you know, there's always going to be questions about, you know, what should have been done to prevent this.
Yeah, it's such a tender topic. The in-laws, how many attended this church? How often? What can you add on that now?
I don't think they attended all that often, but they attended occasionally, is what I've been told, and they obviously were not there on the Sunday that the shooting took place. So it's odd that he chose the Sunday they weren't there. Maybe he just didn't realize they weren't there. We're still trying to figure that out.
Is there any evidence that that killer was at this church previously?
As far as I know, at this point, there's no evidence. Obviously, I'm very aware that his in-laws went there. I think part of it is, too, he wanted to go to a place where it would take first responders a long time to get there. So there may have been numerous factors that affected why he chose this particular location.
So you believe he picked a rural church on a Sunday morning because he could act for a longer period of time?
It certainly makes sense. I mean, in a urban or suburban setting, you're more likely to have first responders there in a very short period of time, 5 to 7 minutes versus up to 20 to 30 minutes. They didn't have a local police department. They had a sheriff. And so there's just a lot more ground to cover in a county like Wilson.
Yeah. I just want to try and put a fine point on the initial part of our discussion here, and that has to do with the Air Force and the database here. How do you ensure that such a grave mistake does not happen again?
I think Congress has to look at this, and we obviously have to look at this at the state level. We have laws I think we can impact this type of issue in Texas, but I think if you're going to make this serious, you have to have penalties for people who don't perform and don't provide the required information. Otherwise, you're going to have more breakdown with no responsibility and no remedy.
But in the end, it was human error. That's what it looks like.
It certainly seems like that.
Sir, my best to you and everybody in Texas.
Keep us in your prayers. I really appreciate it.
No question. Ken Paxton, thank you. The AG down there in Austin. Thanks.